Hey guys, Sergeant Merrill here. There are very few games out there that feature black powder rifles. Here we're taking a look at the Hunter, one of those few. And I couldn't help but think how much of a shame that is. Today we're going to take a look at a rifle that is over 2 centuries old, but takes credit for the independence of a nation and the beginning of snipers. The American long rifle, also known as the Kentucky long rifle, also known as the Pennsylvania long rifle. This rifle has a lot of names, but one thing stands true. The United States would not exist without this rifle. That's a bold statement. And I think people have a hard time wrapping their heads around the idea that a single development, by German immigrants no less, in the early 1700s could change the course of American history. But make no mistake, without this rifle, we couldn't have won against British infantry in the American Revolution. I'm going to quote a guy named Captain John G.W. Dillon. He wrote a book in 1924 called The Kentucky Rifle, and I'm going to paraphrase him a little bit. But he says, an unknown smith, in a shop long since silent, fashioned a rifle which changed the whole course of world history, made possible the settlement of a continent, and ultimately freed our country of foreign domination. Light in weight, graceful in line, economical in consumption of power and lead, fatally precise, distinctly American, it sprang into immediate popularity and for 100 years was a model often slightly varied but never radically changed. So what made this rifle so, well, don't mind the pun, but revolutionary? Rifles used up until this point were crafted in England and France, and they were smooth-bore muskets. They typically involved a rather large caliber, and the barrel was, as the name suggests, smooth. They were also shorter than the American long rifle. The one you see me using, to be noted though, is a shortened version of the American long rifle called the buggy rifle. But picture this. When a gunsmith was making a rifle for someone, they typically wanted the end of the barrel to stop just short of the user's chin. Now I'm 6'2". That's a long ass rifle. The extended barrel was also rifled, which were grooves inside of the barrel that had the bullet spin. This technology allowed the rifle's effective range to reach 3 times further than the smoothbore muskets. In experienced hands, the American long rifle could reach beyond 300 yards, which was absolutely unheard of at this time. Now the footage that I'm showing here may not be important to most people, but it is to me. This is my grandfather's workshop, his basement, where he made his rifles. It may not seem much to you, but to me this is where I grew up. This is where I would play with my siblings and get in trouble for finding his black powder. And this is where I would watch my grandfather work tirelessly on a rifle invented over 2 centuries ago. Now to be fair, the American long rifle did not make the smoothbore musket completely obsolete. In fact, it had some pretty severe disadvantages in comparison to it. In particular, the reload time. Because of the longer barrel, and because of the rifling that was inside of the barrel, not only did it take longer to actually reload the rifle, but it wasn't meant for extended periods of fire. When it comes right down to it, the American long rifle was built for hunting. It was built for accuracy and at a range. So when it came to extended engagements, it was at a severe disadvantage. But here's where it did shine, making British officers absolutely piss their pants. It was considered a war crime to the British to single out officers. But we said, to hell with that. If you're on the battlefield, you're fair game. Marksman soldiers, such as those in Morgan's Riflemen, were able to take out high-value targets in a way that was just never possible before. So that's why I have the passion that I have for this rifle. Not to mention that my grandfather builds them, so it's just something I grew up with. And he recently passed one down to me that I was able to take to the range. So what does it take to fire this puppy? Well, a lot more than you think. It's not like our rifles today, needless to say. But there are a lot of very minute details that you need to get right, and it all needs to come together just right for this rifle to fire. Now, people back then were used to these minute details. They lived by it every day. Us today, we're a little spoiled. We like our rifles to be shorter and to come with magazines that hold 30 rounds. We like our rifles to self-clean, and we like them to be accurate, beyond 300 yards. And I'm going to be honest, I think I'm one of those people. So for me to backtrack to a black powder rifle, an American long rifle no less, was quite a step for me. I'm going to be honest. And this is backtracking further than most people usually do with the American long rifles. Most American long rifles use percussion caps on the hammer. Since this was built in Pennsylvania, my grandfather lives there, they require that you don't use percussion caps. You still use the flint to strike the black powder in a pan that sits beside the barrel, which ignites the powder inside of the barrel, which will then have the rifle go off. This isn't the percussion cap that rarely ever has a failure to fire. And also, just to know, don't make fun of the tools that I'm using here to load this thing. You want to know how difficult it is to find this equipment? You got to special order this stuff. And, you know, here I am trying to find anywhere in San Antonio that could carry black powder simply because it's very difficult to get shipped to you. And it was a hell of a challenge. So I had a hard time getting the black powder. I had a hard time finding a measuring device that I could use. So what I'm using here is not really the best stuff that you'd want to use to load this on a regular basis, to fire it on a regular basis. But I basically have a casing that holds 25 grains of powder, and I'm putting 2 of those inside of the barrel because the barrel can have anywhere between 40 to 60 grains of black powder. And this is real black powder, not any of the imitation stuff, not smokeless powder. It simply won't go off with that stuff. You need the volatile, very dangerous black powder. So we get 50 grains inside of that barrel. Then we take a nice little pre-oiled patch, and we're going to stick our 440 steel ball right on top of it, and then use the ramming rod to shove it down in there. Now, if you notice, I'm being very careful with this ramming rod because it had already broke on me in getting it out from Pennsylvania to Texas. So I repaired it, and I was just being very careful with it. I didn't want it to break, and I didn't want to get a new ramming rod because it's part of the rifle and it means a lot to me. So once you get that shoved all the way down to the bottom of the barrel, you go ahead and put that ramming rod back in. Then you need to take small pinches of black powder, usually about 1 or 2 pinches, and put it inside of that pan that's on the side of the barrel right where the hammer is. You cock that hammer back, you take your aim, and if everything goes right, it'll look something like this.
Damn! Oh, I hit it. I hit it. Woo! Well, I mean, so many failure to fires. That one rocked me. Woo! That was awesome.
So when you pull the trigger, it releases the hammer, which has a flint positioned on it to hit the frizzen, which is the metal surface in front of it. This creates a spark and pushes the frizzen back to reveal the powder in the pan, which ignites the main charge, and then it goes boom. In theory. The problem is, if anything goes wrong in that entire procedure, the weapon just doesn't go off. And that's 90% of the footage that you're going to see here as a result, because I couldn't get the flint to spark the frizzen correctly. So when you see my face after firing the rifle, it's not just because I think I put maybe a little bit too much powder in there. It's also because I was genuinely surprised. So the rifle needs some work when it comes to the flint and the frizzen, and that's just going to take some time on my part. But was it accurate? So here we are. I placed the target about 50 meters away, so we're shooting at Fast Freddy here. And I got my father-in-law here. He was all excited that the rifle went off. And I'm coming up, and I'm expecting maybe I hit off center somewhere, but no, gentlemen, dead center. My first shot firing an American long rifle, dead center. I can tell you guys, after getting hands-on with this rifle, I have a profound amount of respect for it. And this isn't the last video that I'm going to do on this thing. I have a lot of work to do on this rifle to get it to fire correctly and then put some serious lead down range. Now, this video was part of my ammo drive. So I have some people that I want to personally thank for helping me get the resources to put all this together. So thank you, Alan, aka Devious from Texas, and Fencer. Thank you guys for your donations. Also, all the people that are down in the description helped out in some way, so I want to put you guys down there. In our next video, we will be doing the Romanian M10 that you saw earlier in this video. This thing is a monster of a rifle, very affordable, very awesome. I'm really looking forward to putting this thing together for you guys. So look forward to that. Also, I got to give a shout out to Stephen Kuhn. Dude, you're getting that target, you're getting it signed. That is just for you. Thank you very much for everything you've done for this channel. I really appreciate it. Thank you for watching, everybody, and thank you for being a part of this community. This is Sergeant Merrill, out here.